In this tutorial, we are creating a modern SaaS UI animation from the scratch in After Effects. We will build the glassmorphic interface, add smooth transitions, and create those premium product motion details step by step. So we start by creating a new composition that is 1920 by 1080, 30 frames per second. And it's going to be 10 seconds long. And then I'm going to call this scene1_pc. Now import the footage into the composition and resize it. Then we create a square using a rounded rectangle tool and make sure that you align it to the center and then rename it. Now duplicate the rectangle and call this rectangle glass. Now change this into an adjustment layer. Now apply an effect called fast box blur on the glass and hide that top square, and then change the fast box blur's value. Now on the main box, get rid of the fill and change the stroke width to around 0.8. Now open up this rectangle 1, then rectangle path 1, and parent everything from main box underscore glass to main box. Now add a keyframe on the size, then move ahead and add another keyframe here. Get rid of the constraint proportions. Now go back to the first keyframe and then bring in the vector. Now this is an EPS file, so let's change this to shape layer. So right click, create shapes from vector layers. Okay, now just select the layers that we want to keep, hide them, and then delete everything that is remaining so that we can have the shape that we want. Okay, now change its color to white and resize it and place it well. Now add a keyframe on the scale property of the vector. Change it to 0 at this frame. Select both the keyframe, right click, keyframe assistant, then easy ease. Okay, and change the graph to something like this. Now go back, copy this keyframe and paste it here. Now move ahead and increase the size of this. Okay, something like this. Also, if you want to adjust the size on the rectangle and make it smaller, you can do that by just copying and pasting the sizes here. Right, now let's animate the position of the vector here. Right, then select both the keyframes and right click, keyframe assistant and easy ease. Okay, and make sure that the graph looks something like this. Then go back. Now change easing on this one as well. Okay, so this is going to be our easing for this entire video, right? Now on the main box underscore glass, apply an effect called CC glass. Okay, and play around with the values here until you get something you want. Okay, now let's create a text by pressing Ctrl T, or you could just select the text tool. And then add the text to the center. Now go to this frame and add a position keyframe. Okay, and animate the position like this. Now I'm going to give a different label to the glass so that at least I can know. Now move forward and change the size here. Make sure that you adjust the graph on it. Now go to the last keyframe that we have set and change the text position. And then change the vector's position as well. Also, if you need to change the size of the main box, you can do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to reduce the size of the vector here on each and every keyframe, right? Now select all the keyframes and ease them. Okay, now change the graph on them. Now let's create some more text for this. Okay, once the text has been created, adjust them accordingly. Now, using the pen tool, create a line here and make sure that the stroke is enabled and adjust it. Okay, and you can make adjustments as you move forward, and since we have parented things properly, making these changes will be much easier, right? Now let's bring in the logos that we have. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to bring in this GPay logo, and then I'm going to apply and fill effect to this, right? Then I'm going to scale it down, right? And then I'm going to place it in a way that looks nice. Okay, then I'm going to use the rulers. And I'm going to duplicate this and place it like this. Okay, and then I'm going to select all of them and align them properly. Right now, all I'm going to do is replace the logos one by one. Okay, now I'm going to apply tint effect to this, and I'm going to scale it down after that. Okay, so just make sure that everything looks nice. Okay, now select all of them and parent everything to this track fee text. Okay, we can use nulls here, but let's do something different. Okay, now here add keyframe on the position. Okay, slightly move them down, right? And then change the graph to something like this after easing them. Okay, now I'm going to duplicate the main box. Okay, and let's call this matte. Okay, let's give it a different color. Okay, and select all of them. Okay, and use this as an alpha matte. Okay, also here make sure that the fill is enabled. Okay, okay, also change the easing and make it proper. Right here you can do the final adjustments in any way that you want. Now I'm going to get rid of the keyframes on the main box matte, and then I'm going to parent it to the size of the main box. Okay, so in that way we don't have to do much work. Okay, and if we make any changes, they will be made directly on the matte as well, right? Okay, now let's create that glass effect. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate the main box 2, and then I'm going to bring it on top. Okay, now I'm going to call this light_top, and then let's apply an effect called CC light sweep. Okay, now make changes as you see on the screen. Then duplicate it, okay, and bring it on the bottom, right? And make changes as your preferences. Okay, now I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to call this noise. Okay, and I'm going to apply an effect called noise on this. Okay, so it looks more glassier. I'm going to change the blending mode, and I'm going to reduce the opacity to around 30%. Now here, one issue that we are facing right now is that the light sweep does not stick to the box we have created, right? So we need to make sure that it sticks to the box, and for that I have created this expression. So I'm going to apply this expression, okay, on this. This is for the top. And then I'm going to apply another expression to the bottom so that the light sweep sticks. Okay, so as you can see, the light sweep is now sticking to the box without manually keyframing it, right? Now here you can make any changes that you want, but it will stick to the box. Now let's create a new composition quickly, and let's call this main. Now let's bring scene1_pc into this. Use a polygon tool to create a triangle like this, okay, and make sure that it's aligned to the center. Right now go into the polystar 1, okay, change the points to 6 and play around with the inner radius, outer radius, and all these properties until you get something like this or something that you want, right? This depends on your preference. Okay, now let's call this shape_main because this is going to be our driving force for the animation, right? I'm going to use this shape as a matte. Press S to add a keyframe on the scale, then add a keyframe on the rotation. Okay, and then move ahead and then add more keyframes. Okay, then go back and just change the scale of it. And then change the rotation of that shape. Okay, now easy is them, and one by one change the graph on this like this. Then do the same thing for the rotation as well. Now add a keyframe on the scale for the scene1_pc and then move few frames back. Okay, and drop a keyframe, right? And then move to this frame and then change its value to something around 110. Then add the keyframe on the last frame as well. Just make sure that it doesn't get cut out. So make sure that you keyframe the scale properly. Once that is done, easy ease them. Okay, and change the graph to the graph that we have been keeping from the start. Okay, now let's apply an effect called bulge to the scene 1. Okay, and just change the horizontal radius and vertical radius by dragging this circular object that you see. Okay, and here we are going to animate the bulge height for that effect. Okay, so add a keyframe on this frame. Okay, then move ahead and add a keyframe. Okay, change the value like from 0 to 1 and add another keyframe here and adjust the timing of the keyframes, right? And here just make sure that it matches with the peak. And then easy is this keyframe and change the easing to something that we want. It's something that we've been using throughout this. Now the timing here depends on your preference and your intuition. Okay, now duplicate the matte here, add in the opacity keyframe on the end frame. Okay, and then move few frames back and then change this to 0. So we have this. Okay, now rename this to shape underscore main. Okay, now let's create that box. Okay, and move it at the bottom here. Change the box to an adjustment layer. Then create a new solid. Now go to the scene1 underscore PC, okay, and then copy effects from the main box glass and then paste it here, right? I'm going to create a new solid and I'm going to call this gradient solid, okay, and I'm going to bring it below the box, okay. Then I'm going to apply an effect called 4-color gradient, right? And then I have applied this colors to this, okay. Now I'm going to create a mask on the gradient solid. Okay, then I'm going to apply fastbox blur and then I'm going to just increase the value of it, right? Then I'm going to create a new ellipse, okay? Then I'm going to call this gradient circle and I'm going to copy this 4-color gradient and paste it here, right? And I might change the blending mode here as well. Now apply fastbox blur to the circle, okay, and change it, and this depends on your preference, by the way, right? And just make sure that it blends in with the background, right? And then apply noise effect to the gradient solid. Okay, now duplicate the box and let's rename this to box underscore stroke. And let's call that box underscore glass, okay. Then I'm going to get rid of the fill here and change the stroke width. Okay, now duplicate this again and let's apply light sweep to this. Okay, change it as per your preference. And make sure that the fill is enabled here before you make any changes to this, right? Then duplicate this and bring the center of CC light sweep to the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to change the size of the final shape here. Okay, to somewhere around 52.6, and I'm going to do the same thing with the matte as well. Okay, now select the shape underscore main and then split it, okay, and trim this layers like this. Okay, now press U and get rid of the keyframes from this shape. Okay, then add keyframes on the position, then rotation, right? Now move few frames ahead and animate this shape as you see here. And if you want to see the handles here, just select the pen tool and click on the keyframe or the point, and then you will be able to see the handles, Bezier handles, okay? Also, I'm going to select this keyframe and then choose row across time, right? And so we have this animation like this. Now easy is them. Then go to the graph editor and change the graph to something like this. Now let's animate the rotation here, and I'm going to move ahead and I'm going to add 1 to this. Right now let's add the text here, okay. and make sure that it's aligned to the center, and then trim it and make sure that you bring it below. Okay, now create a mask on this text, a box mask. Okay, then add a keyframe on mask path, then press U and then add 2 keyframes. Go to the first keyframe and change the value or change the mask manually. Press F, Shift F to reveal the feather, okay, and drop a keyframe, okay. But before that, change the easing on the mask path, okay. Now go a few frames back and change the value on the mask feather to around 17. Okay, now let's create another text, okay, and add it on the back. Add a mask on the text and then feather it. Okay, now if you want to add shadow to the box, so I'm going to duplicate the stroke and then make sure that the fill is enabled. I'm going to apply drop shadow to it, okay, and shadow only, right? Okay, and I'm going to duplicate the shadow and bring it on top. Then I'm going to call this matte, okay, and I'm going to make sure that the matte is aligned to the center, okay, right, and then I'm going to choose it as a track matte, so inverse the track matte, right? Now here you can make changes as you want. Now by pressing Ctrl Alt Shift Y, create a new null and let's call this scale control, and select everything and parent everything to scale control. Then press S to bring up the scale and add a keyframe on the scale property, right? Move few frames back and change it, okay? Now make sure that the timing is right and then easy ease them properly. Okay, now if you think that you need more timing on this, just drag this layers like this. Okay, so we have bit of a time, a pause for this before the animation starts because that was too abrupt, right? Now let's duplicate the box underscore light bottom. Okay, and let's apply noise to this. Change its color to black. Change its blending mode and reduce the opacity of it like this. Then now you can play around here as much as you like. Now finally select all of them, okay, give them a different color, right, and then search for size. Okay, what I want here is I want to parent everything to one layer. So if I make change to one layer, it should be applied to each and every box that we have created so far, right? So how do we do that? So manually parenting, that could take some time. Okay, so we are going to add this expression here. Okay, right, now go to edit and choose copy with property links. Okay, then select the size on each of them, okay, and paste it. Okay, so in that way you can make the changes that you want here and it will be applied to each and every box. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. I will see you in the next one.